Hi everyone, I'm Emily. Welcome to the first episode of the Emily Dyes Fiber podcast slash vlog, since I decided to split my content into cross-stitching and other craft videos, and then knitting, crochet, spinning, dyeing, other yarny type projects. Dyeing as in dyeing yarn, not dyeing as in, last night I said that I was going to go out into the garage and dye, and my dad was like, so that's a little bit awkward, but, dyeing yarn. So, I'm not 100% certain what I want to call this segment. Most of the people who knit that I watch on YouTube, call their videos, podcasts, but technically a podcast is audio only, and I'm tempted to call it a vlog because it's a video blog, so it would be like something I might write a blog post about. However, when you say vlog nowadays, people assume that's going to be like a following you around or clips from throughout your day or week kind of a thing. So I'm not 100% certain what I want to call it. I'm compromising calling this one a podcast slash vlog, but if you have any thoughts on what to call it, I would love to hear those in the comments down below. One other quick thing before I get started, I have changed my channel name. I was formerly Emily R, and now I am Emily Dyes Fiber. This is because I have decided to take my love of dyeing, which I was kind of doing casually, and also my love of nature, and combine them and dye yarn for a business based on kind of the colors of nature and animals and plants and so forth. I will be talking more about that at the end of this video, so if you're not interested in that, then you can just see my finished objects and works in progress shortly. If you are interested in that, then you'll get to hear all about it at the end of the video. And if you are one of those people who only watches me for the cross-stitch videos, this is not the video for you, and I will see you next week. So, to begin, it has been a long time since I did my last video, and that long time included Christmas, and in a fit of absolute madness, I decided to knit Christmas presents for people. Deadline knitting and all of this stuff, so not fun. Most of them have been given away and are long gone, but I actually have a ton of finished objects to show you from the presents that I knit for my dad and brother, and then one thing for myself. Well, I was going to say two things, but really it's one thing. So, I'm going to begin by showing you all of those finishes so you can see what I've been up to since the last video. Oh, and they're kind of behind me because I have stuff laid out on my table. So, I don't remember the order I finished them, but this is the order I'm going to talk about them. The first finished object that I have to show you is a hat I knit for my dad. And I'm realizing I probably shouldn't have put my hair in a bun because I can't really put hats on over it. So we'll just kind of do it like this. You can see, nope, that's a terrible idea. And now it's stuck to my hair sticks. We'll just hold it up like this. This hat is called the Trilobite hat because these look like trilobite fossils. As you can see, love of nature, especially weird nature. This design is by Hannah Mason. It is actually free. It's on the Knitty website. I was going to say I'll have links to everything that I'm talking about below, but I'm actually going to have a link to a blog post where I have photographs and links of everything I'm talking to. So if you're interested in knitting this hat, you can find a link to the free pattern there. Now my dad is allergic to wool, so I had to knit this in a non-wool fiber. I ended up picking Knit Picks Brava Worsted, which is a worsted weight, 100% acrylic. It's pretty soft for an acrylic. And this is, let me double check, this is the silver colorway. Picked it to look kind of like the stone that the fossil was in, and as it turns out, it exactly matches one of his sweaters that he loves to wear with it. So, it's a very cool hat. I definitely recommend the pattern. I would recommend using a sharp needle when you're knitting it though, because there's some cabling in here and some little bobbles that are kind of a pain in the butt to do if you don't have sharp needles. So I knit that hat for my dad. He loves it. It's well worn and holding up pretty well. The next thing that I knit was a present for my brother, another hat. This one is excellent. It's a pattern called Turn a Square by Jared Flood. It's free on Ravelry. Again, I'll have a link to that if you check out my blog post. And it's called Turn a Square because it's this round pattern that becomes a square at the top with the decreases. Now, the pattern was originally written to have stripes in it. However, because my yarn has kind of a gradient striping pattern itself, I opted not to add an additional color. This yarn is Knit Picks Chroma worsted. It's a worsted weight, I believe it's 70% wool, 30% nylon. It is superwash, but they recommend not drying it in the dryer. This is the Sandpiper colorway, and I love it. The Chroma has this kind of gradient color shifting thing. This is the first time I've worked with it, and I quite enjoyed it. It's a little bit pilly because my brother wears it to death. And so, yeah, I did that. I like it. Let's see. The next thing that I knit was another present for my dad. I have two presents for my dad and brother each because they needed some stuff, and technically I didn't give them both to them at Christmas because that would have doubled their presents relative to everyone else. So these are a pair of fingerless gloves, and I actually can put these on to show you because I don't have a bun on my hands. That would just be really weird. I don't even know why I said that. These gloves. These are from a free pattern. The pattern is called Koigu Fingerless Gloves because it's originally written to be used with a skein of Koigu yarn. It's by Astrante. It's free on Ravelry. Again, I'll have a link to that. It's a nice little pattern. It's good if you want fingers on your fingerless gloves, which my family prefers. Aside from possibly me because I have to knit them, but like I said, my dad is allergic to wool, so I had to find something that was not wool, but that would have the springiness that you need to sit on your hands. So to cling to, you know, to not stretch out terribly and fall off your hands as you're wearing these fingerless gloves. So I ended up knitting this out of a really interesting yarn. It's called, it's by Haiku. It's called Cobasi, C-O-B-A-S-I, and it is 55% cotton, 21% elastic nylon, 16% rayon from bamboo, and 8% silk. It is designed to mimic the size and spring of a fingering weight sock yarn, which is normally merino nylon or wool nylon blend. This is in the Cobasi Multi in the colorway Wave Caps. So it kind of looks like waves washing up onto a beach, I think. And it is a really interesting and kind of bizarre yarn to work with, but I would definitely recommend it for socks or gloves if you have someone who is allergic to wool but is interested in hand knit ones. It is cold to handle. It feels cold and kind of hard like a cotton yarn because it is primarily cotton. However, it stretches and springs like a wool yarn, and so you don't have that roughness on your hands as you're working with it because it does stretch as you're tensioning it. It's bizarre, but it works. It's not my favorite. I wouldn't choose it over wool if you can choose wool, just because it is quite cold feeling, so you put it on and it kind of feels like you put something cold over your hands. However, it's if you can't have wool, it's stretchy and springy and it's not wool and it works just fine and it's quite pretty. So I found that really interesting to work with. Yeah, so that's those gloves, fingerless gloves for my dad. He doesn't wear those quite as much as the hat, but he does quite like them. And then the last thing I made is a present that I'm going to show you that hasn't left my possession. Well, okay, these did leave my possession, but I went and stole them out of my dad and brother's closets. So, you know, is this. This is called the hair. This is from a pattern called the Twisted Rib Neck Warmer. It's a cowl, a long cowl. So, you know, it kind of goes on like this. And I'm going to stand up just a hair. Yeah, like that. It is the pattern is by Michelle Johnson, and at the time I got it, I believe it was a free pattern on Ravelry. It's actually now out of print, unfortunately, because it's a really simple, nice pattern. It's got a little bit of lace on the and ribbing in between. And when I first knit it, it was a lot more like this. It kind of looked like straight up ribbing. However, my brother likes to wrap it 3 times around his neck so that it's nice and snug, and he kind of fills in the gap at the top of his jacket, you know? So it's stretched out a bit since then. However, it's still lovely. This yarn that I used is Knit Picks Paragon, which is a sport weight yarn made out of 50% merino wool, 25% silk, and 25% alpaca in the colorway Ash. So it's very soft and it's very warm, and he really likes it. It was one of the things he most wanted for knitting. And, you know, it's a gray colorway. Honestly, he would wear like pink lace if I knit him pink lace, so he doesn't care all that much. But I do like how it's kind of like, looks mostly like ribbing. So, you know, still a good pattern for guys who don't care about a little lace and who want a cowl. So yeah, I knit that. That was fun. I actually used exactly 3 balls. Like, I had no leftovers, which is kind of awesome. But I've told you all these great things about this pattern, and now it's out of print, so sorry about that. It's not that hard. It's a lace twisted rib cowl, so you could probably figure that out on your own if you really wanted to. So yeah, those are the things I knit for other people. I don't usually knit a lot for other people except for my brother, because I'll knit him whatever he wants, but that's what I knit for them. Now the next finished project I have comes from Sock Madness. This is a speed sock knitting competition that runs from March to, I want to say, about like mid-end June every year. It can be found in the Sock Madness group on Ravelry. You sign up in February and then you get these patterns to speed knit. So these are Fée Draguet. They are the pattern that was the qualifying pattern. So you have to knit, if you want the patterns for free, you have to knit at least 1 of these in 2 weeks. And if you want to join the competition, you have to knit 2 of these in 2 weeks. I knit this one out of Knit Picks Stroll in black. Stroll is a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon fingering weight yarn. And then the blue accents are in Knit Picks Felici in the Glacier colorway. Felici is also a 75% merino, 25% nylon sock yarn. It's my favorite type of sock yarn to knit. And I love them dearly. They're a little bit, they have some little balls of lint on them because I've worn them a lot since then. So they have this little pattern here that's supposed to look like little sprinkles or something like that on them. So those are lovely, and with those I qualified for Sock Madness, which brings me to my works in progress. I'm not in Sock Madness anymore. I dropped out in the 3rd round, so I'm still working on the sock for that round, which, if I can get it untangled from the rest of my yarn, I have 1 of them done. These are called, whoa! Oh, I should mention, with the Fée Draguet, this pattern was free for Sock Madness participants, and I believe the designer will be putting up for free at the end of Sock Madness. So if you want it, you'll want to check back kind of end of June. This is the Checkbox Socks. This pattern was by Rachel Laggett. Again, for Sock Madness. I believe she will also be releasing the pattern at the end of Sock Madness. I don't know about pricing on that one. And these are brioche. I've never knit brioche before. They're also a Flegel heel, which I've never knit. The Fée Draguet were a heel flap and gusset, which is my favorite. So brioche are these little sections here, and basically the way it works is you slip stitches and you get this kind of fake rib that's very thick and squishy. Well, it's a real rib, but it's kind of fake anyway. It's the first time doing brioche, so I'm not going to explain too much how it works because first time, you know. There's a lot of people who can tell you more about it. And so the yarn that I used for this was, again, Stroll and Felici by Knit Picks. The Stroll was in, let's see, Midnight Heather. I have Midnight Heather and Sapphire Heather, and I can never remember which is which. So this is a Midnight Heather. It's a almost black, very dark blue. And then these other colors are Felici in the Madrigal colorway. It's not really my colors. I'm more in the greens and blues. And so this like pinks and oranges and purples isn't really my favorite, but I bought it to go with a black or very dark yarn because I thought it would look good with it, and it really does. So I knit one of these socks, and I'm kind of sitting here at a partial sock. So yeah, that is my Sock Madness socks. I need to get finishing on that one. They've released 2 more patterns since then. I haven't even downloaded them because I'm way behind. If you are following Sock Madness, you'll know that there was another sock in between the qualifying round and round 2 or 3 or whatever this one was. It was called the Blackberry sock. I knit it, I had it approved, and then I ripped it out because I really didn't like it. It didn't fit me well, and I didn't like how the pattern looked. So I don't have anything to show you with that one. That one is awaiting a new purpose, shall we say. Right, so that's the checkbox socks. The next thing I'm going to talk to you about, and I should mention, I have a lot more knitting whips and crochet whips than this. I'm just showing you the ones I've worked on recently because otherwise we would be here for 2 hours. Okay, maybe not 2 hours, but we'd be here for a while. Okay, they're still tangling up. The next thing that I'm working on is a blanket. This is the beginning of the first quarter of the blanket. It's called the Hue Shift Afghan. It's designed by Karen Dimler Lawrence. It is usually available for $4.99 on the Knit Picks website. I, however, got it a couple years back when they were doing a kind of like 12 Days of Christmas, 12 free patterns promotion. And they've had it for free both of those years. So if you want it and you don't want it for $4.99, maybe try around Christmas time. And so the way this Afghan works, I should mention now I'm making it bigger than the original pattern. The original pattern is probably about 3/4 of the size of mine. I wanted mine big enough to lay across the top of my bed. Unfortunately, it's not going to be big enough to actually serve as like a quilt or comforter on my bed, but it'll be big enough to just lay across the top. So the way this works, it's called Hue Shift because you've got different colors of yarn and kind of you do a square with them, and then you do a square. So if I have a square of this black, I do a square of this black mixed with this gray in both directions, and then the gray will continue on like this and up this way. I hope that made sense. So I've got black mixed with various colors going up this way, and then I've got gray mixed with varying colors going up this way, and this black will also go across, and this gray will go across, and this gray will go across, and so on and so forth. I'm doing mine not in any of the colorways they suggest. I'm doing mine in one that I designed myself, going from black to white to light blue to dark blue to like a navy blue. And right now, I'm only working on the first quarter of the blanket, which is just the blacks and whites and grays. So I am using Knit Picks Brava Sport, which is the called for yarn. It's a sport weight, obviously, 100% acrylic yarn. It's pretty cheap. I really wanted to make this out of like a wool or a wool blend, but it was going to be more expensive than I wanted to pay for something that wasn't going to be like a full-on comforter-sized blanket. But it's going to be a really nice blanket for like lying around on the couch if you need extra heat, warmth in the winter, and so on and so forth. So the colors that I'm using, let me double check this. Black. This gray is Cobblestone Heather. This gray is Silver, which matches pretty darn well the silver that I did my dad's hat out of in a different weight of the same yarn, which is kind of an interesting thing. So Silver, and then Dove Heather is this gray, and then white. It's a simple mitered square blanket, so you cast on along here and you do decreases down. Standard mitered square. I am casting on more just so I have a bigger mitered square. I like it a lot. I am, let's say, 9 3/4 done with the first quarter of my blanket. Because it's 100 squares, 10 colors. You can add more if you want. It's a really easy pattern to adapt, to pick your own colors. I mean, you can pick any 10 colors and do it. I just chose to do this gradient thing because that's what I like, and those are my favorite colors. And we're going to throw that on the floor so I don't have to deal with putting it back up on my table because it's big. The other project that I'm doing is my first sweater for an adult. I've done some baby sweaters to kind of play around with different types of construction, but I've not ever knit one for myself. I've started ones for myself. I've never knit one to completion. And this pattern is called Casual Friday. It is designed by Diana Rosensten. I hope I'm somewhere in the vicinity of the pronunciation on that. It's available for $6.50 on Ravelry. And I don't have a printout of what it's going to look like when it's finished. So my plan is I'm using a new video editing thing, so I'm going to try to insert a picture of what it's going to look like here. If I don't, you'll just see me, and if I do, you'll see what it looks like. Now the pattern is originally written to be striped. I am doing it all in one color, and I'm working on the back right now. It is a cardigan. And this is Knit Picks Stroll, again, in the Dove Heather colorway. So it's fingering weight, 75 merino, 25 nylon. And it's this nice mottled gray, light gray color that'll go really well with pretty much everything I wear. Now, I've not knit a lot of sweaters. I've obviously knit some baby sweaters, but I think this is a really interesting construction, really weird construction. It's got these seed stitch panels going down your arms and down your sides, and then stockinette stitch elsewhere, and it's kind of like a V-neck cardigan. And I picked it because it doesn't have very many projects on Ravelry, but it looks really interesting. And I think that just looking at how her test knitters wore it, it looks like it's going to be really interesting really good looking on lots of different body types and sizes, because you have those seed stitch, there's my yarn, seed stitch panels that kind of break up the body silhouette subtly. So this is the back of the cardigan. And the way it works is you got these two little saddles that sit on your shoulders, in theory. So these are going to sit on my shoulders, and this is going to go down my back and eventually be under my underarm. So I'm currently working on the underarm increases. Nope, that's the wrong end. Here we go. This is kind of curving in for your armpit area. Yeah, and so far, my row gauge is not quite the same as the designer's row gauge, but I think it's going to work out. I may have to rip back and add a couple more plain knit rows in between the increases, but we shall see when I'm showing you the back. Not that it really matters. So yeah, I've made decent progress on that. It's coming into summer, so cardigans are not exactly what I want to be knitting. However, I'm hoping that if I work on it pretty hard throughout the summer, it'll be ready for fall. And also I live in Oregon, so summer can be pretty chilly. Right, so that is what I wanted to talk to you about my works in progress. I do have more, and I'll be showing you more in 2 weeks when I have my next video about my knitting, yarning, and so forth. I'm going to flip the page on my notes because this is actually so long that I have 2 pages worth of notes. The second page is shorter, just for the record. So, now I want to talk about my yarn dyeing shop that I'm opening. I am filming this in advance. Oh, so if you aren't interested in the shop, thanks for watching. If you are interested in the shop, I'm filming this in advance so that I can have time to edit it and everything. So this video should be going up on the same day that my shop opens, my Etsy shop opens. I'm not 100% certain if I'm going to have all of the colorways that I show you here available in the shop, because taking photographs and editing them and writing listings is taking way longer than I thought it would. So hopefully these will all be available. I'm going to work really hard to have all these available, but there's a chance you'll have to wait a week or so for all of them to be available. So the way I'm doing this is I love nature. I love the colors that nature has. It's far more inventive and interesting and gorgeous than I would come up with on my own, trying to come up with a bunch of these. So I am doing collections of yarn based on some aspect, some type of creature or creatures from a certain location, also plants. And this first one that I'm doing is going to be based on butterflies. Now, what I really love is the weird stuff, but I figured I would start with butterflies because they're colorful and everyone is into butterflies. I kind of wanted to wait before I got into like the weird deep sea creature stuff that I'm into, because I didn't think that starting with like giant tube worm as a colorway would be a great idea, even though giant tube worms are absolutely gorgeous, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be dyeing a yarn based on them at some point. So I'm gonna show you my butterfly collection. I have 10 colorways, of which I have 8 sitting right here to show you. So the first colorway, and this is my card here, Emily Dyes Fiber. I'm on Etsy and I'm on WordPress. The WordPress blog, again, that's going to be a little bit behind probably even the Etsy shop and getting everything entered on it, but I'm going to be talking about like the butterflies that inspired it and how I interpreted them and what they're like, and you know, all of these interesting facts. So it should be a little educational too. At least it's going to be educational for me. If you don't read it, then I guess it's not that educational. Anyway, so this colorway is one that I'm calling Bent Skipper. It's based on a butterfly known as the widespread bent skipper, but I didn't really want to write widespread bent skipper out on my little tags every single time, so I went with just bent skipper. And I'm going to try to insert pictures of the butterflies that I am legally able to reproduce the photographs of in here so you can see how I interpreted them in the yarn. But this butterfly is this complex black and gray and silver and blue and purple, and it's really cool. So this is the yarn. I have knit up some samples. This is a sample knit at a typical sock gauge in size of 64 stitches in the round at 8.5 stitches per inch. I really love this yarn. I've also crocheted, that's backwards, crocheted up a little granny square to show you how it would look in crochet. So this one looks great in crochet as well. So that's my Bent Skipper colorway. The next one is one of my absolute favorites. It's called Blue Morpho. The Blue Morpho butterfly is this really gorgeous iridescent blue with black on the edges of its wings. So I dyed this blues with a little bit of black in one spot. And the black is very blue toned as well, so it goes really nicely with it. This one, whoa, knocking into stuff. This one knits up really interestingly. I like this. So at the typical sock gauge, you actually get these kind of like 2 stripe things out of the black. And obviously it'll be a little bit different based on your gauge. This is my gauge, so I'm just trying to give you kind of a typical example. I also think it looks great in crochet because you have these little black sections sitting around throughout the yarn. Oh, and I should note probably with the Blue Morpho and the Bent Skipper, because of how I dye them, no 2 of those skeins are going to be exactly alike. So just, it's not, I'm not going to say it's not a repeatable colorway, but it's not matchable from skein to skein. So that was my Blue Morpho butterfly. The next butterfly that I decided to dye is called the Dido Longwing. And it is this vivid, intense yellow-green to yellow in some sections of its wings, and kind of a browns and whites and creams in other section of its wings. So this is what I came up with. And this is actually a self-striping yarn. So when you knit it, it makes these wide stripes of this green, which is kind of, it's like the green on like the innermost portions of its wings, and then this is like the browns and creams on the outermost portions of its wings. And I also did this one in crochet. It's perhaps not as great in crochet just because the colors aren't as scattered because they are in these self-striping patterns. However, I still quite like it, and this may be something you want in your crochet. So that was the Dido Longwing self-striping. Very cool. Now the next one that I have is it's called Mountain Apollo. It's a gray butterfly with black speckles and then these 4 reddy pink like spots on the bottom of its wings. And so I dyed this one speckled with a gray base and then black speckles for the black spots all over its wings, and these kind of pink speckles for the eye spots on its back. And they aren't really eye spots because they don't look like full-on eyes, but they're kind of probably serve about that purpose. And this is what it looks like knit up in, like it would look in a sock. And then this is what it looks like crocheted. I've noticed with my speckles that the speckles kind of disappear in crochet because they have a tendency, they're so short, it's pretty common for them to be on the inside of the stitch, so you don't see it as well. However, it's still pretty cool. And so that was the Mountain Apollo. It's still in a cake. I don't have a skein of it right now to show you. Then I have a butterfly that's called the Piano Key, and like I said, I'm going to try to insert pictures so you can see why it's called the Piano Key. It's got black and red on its top wings, and its bottom wings are this like white, gray, and black stripes, very short little stripes that look just like piano keys. And so that is this colorway. And let me see if I can show this to you. So I dyed this to match the top wing. I've got a black, red, white, and black, or a red, white section. And then on the bottom, I have these narrow little black stripes to match that piano key section at the bottom of the butterfly. And this comes out really interesting when you do it. Whoa. It comes out kind of like this. So you've got kind of short-ish stripes of the black and the white and the red. And then in there, you've got these little short, itty-bitty kind of sections of the black, white, black, white, black, white. So it makes this really complicated looking yarn. It's not very, well, okay, it's kind of complicated, but it's not very complicated. It's also interesting in crochet. This one is one of the, I think, quite similar in crochet and knitting and how it looks. So this one's a highly, highly variegated yarn there. That was the Piano Key. Now I have my other favorite, the Pipevine Swallowtail. And this butterfly, now this butterfly looks different depending on how the light is hitting it. And the picture that I have to show you doesn't 100% do it justice, because when the light hits its wings just right, it's got this intense kind of deep turquoise on the bottom wing and then a purpley black on the top wing. And that's kind of what I looked at. I just couldn't find a picture of it in quite that lighting. Okay, apparently my camera is stopping filming on one video and starting filming in another file. Yay. Anyway, Pipevine Swallowtail. And what I did with this one is I dyed it, because if you notice in the picture that there were white spots on the edge of the butterfly's wings and also in its kind of blue section. So I dyed this with 3 sections of white spots in the turquoise blue section and 1 section of white spots here up in the purpley black section. And it kind of melds gradient between the turquoise and the purpley black. So pretty. I love this one. And I love the way it knits up. On a kind of sock type knitting, you get these kind of alternating stripes of the purple and the blue. Very, very, not like self-striping, but like you kind of see alternations. And there are these little white pops in between them. And then in crochet, I didn't actually weave in my ends on my samples because I was knitting and crocheting like mad to get those done. In the crochet one, you don't see the white as much. It has a pretty decent chance of being on the inside of the sections, but you do see it some, and you've got these turquoise sections and purple sections that kind of work together. So I really, really love that Pipevine Swallowtail, and I still have Dido Longwing in my lap. Then I have a butterfly. I don't have a picture to show for you for this one because I found some pictures of it that I can reproduce, but they don't look like, they don't show the patterning that I was interested in. So this butterfly is called the Ruby Spotted Swallowtail, and it's got wings kind of like this, and it's mostly black. It's got white spots here and then pink spots here, and the rest of it's black. And so if you go to my blog post for this, I'll have a link to the picture that I was looking at when I was designing this. I just can't actually reproduce it on my own, but I can link you to it. So this is black with some white spots and some pink spots, and then black on the end. And this one comes out really, really cool when you knit it at like a sock type gauge. So this one, you get these like spirals. You get spirals of striping pink and black with white on the outside, and then spirals of this black here. This is if you're knitting this at 64 stitches per inch, 64 stitches around and 8.5 stitches per inch, roughly speaking. Now, there will be variance depending on how your gauge is. Isn't that cool? I love that. I don't even like pink, and I love that. Incidentally, it's been really interesting to research butterflies and see what colors are common. There's tons of yellows and oranges and tons and tons and tons of black, but there's almost no like purple or green. So I worked kind of hard to find butterflies that had purple and green in them for this collection. Anyway, this is still the ruby spotted swallowtail in crochet form, little granny square. I like that one as well. And then the last colorway I have sitting right here to show you is called Yellow Pansy. It's this yellow and brown butterfly with blue spots in the middle of its wings. And if I can unhook this sucker. Oh, that was interesting. Hold on a mo. Slight technical difficulties. Okay, technical difficulties solved. This is what this colorway looks like. So I've got the brown sections, the mustard yellow, and then the blue. And then this yarn tie was up here when it was being dyed. Obviously, it has since shifted. And this one looks pretty cool when knit up. See, like that blue. I wouldn't have thought to put that blue in there, but it really pops. I like it. And it's also quite cool crocheted. Okay, this is the front. It's also quite cool crocheted. Now I have two more colorways that I'm still working on the swatches for. I'm having another self-striping, which I call Bologna Metal Mark. It is a 2 shades of blue and kind of a coral color that look beautiful together. And then I also have one called the Beautiful Leopard, and that one is kind of a gradient of dark orange yellow to a very pale creamy yellow with brown speckles all over. And like I said, I'm still working on getting the swatches of those done and photographed and everything, so I'm not going to show you those right now. Those are probably the ones that are least likely to be in the shop come Monday, but come the day that you watch this video, which is Monday. I'm filming beforehand, so that way I don't have to deal with filming and opening a shop on the same day. So those are the 10 colorways I'm doing. Right now, I've only got one yarn base. I'm calling it the Merino Sock yarn base. It's a 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon blend. I really like it because it is, it's tough, it's machine washable and dryable, because I don't hand wash my socks. I don't have time for hand washing my socks. So if you're like me, you can machine wash and dry these on the Gentle Cycle and everything. Or you can wash it by hand and lay it flat if you're more comfortable with that. But it's also quite soft. I'm pretty sensitive, and I can easily wear this like up against my neck in a cowl or shawl. So it's a very versatile fingering weight base. And I'm currently doing 100 gram skeins and 20 gram mini skeins. And in the future, I'm wanting to expand out into other bases and other colors, obviously. But for right now, I've got my 10 butterflies and my one base. And yeah, I guess that is everything that I was going to say about that. If you're interested in any of those, I've got a link to my blog post that has, you know, pictures and information about all of that, and we'll have a link to my Etsy shop where you can check it out if you're interested, and if you're not, that is absolutely fine too. So yeah, let me just double check my notes. Okay, that is everything that I wanted to talk about. Thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you watched the whole video. That was quite a long one. I will see you in the next video if you're interested in my cross-stitching. So next video is going to be cross-stitching and other crafts. If you're not interested in that, 2 weeks from now I'll have another knitting update, and I will see you there. Feel free to subscribe if you are interested in keeping up with all of my videos, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.